I'd like to talk about standards fluency and how important it is in making curriculum decisions. There is a difference between standards literacy and standards fluency. When we think about someone being literate, we think about, do they have the ability to read and write and speak? It's important that teachers have that when it comes to looking at the standards. Can they literally read them and interpret them correctly? What I do find is that when I go out and work with teachers, they don't have the level of literacy that you might think because they don't know about form and structure and function with standards. Once they do, though, I love working with them on standards fluency. It helps if we think about the Latin root of fluency. It means to flow. So if you think of it from the point of view of standards, it's this idea of how the standards flow across those grade levels. What I find is when teachers do work on their standards, they quite often look at the standards above or below their grade level, or maybe even above or below 2 grade levels. The problem is the teachers who teach those other grade levels are not present and involved in the conversation, and that's so critical for student learning. So I know that time is so precious and it's hard to get everybody together. I do recommend, though, whether it's virtual or in person, take the time to have the teachers meet to focus on standards fluency. For example, next week I'm going to be in Florida where I'm going to work with an elementary school, kindergarten through 5, where we are going to get together and talk in person about the standards. We'll start with standards literacy, and then we're going to start on ELA Standards fluency. To give you an example of the kinds of conversations we're going to have, and I will tell you from experience, you do need to have someone who can coach these kinds of conversations, is we're going to be looking at my app for a moment, the CCSS ELA app. On your screen, you'll see I've taken a screenshot of the Standard 1 dealing with text-based evidence. And you'll see that it focuses on 3 grade levels, 4th grade, 5th grade, and 6th grade. Now next week, I'd love to say the 6th grade teachers in the feeder pattern schools are going to be with us, but that's not going to be possible. We are, though, going to take notes and share that out with those teachers after we meet. Now getting back to the verbs that are in these 3 particular standards, you'll notice 4th grade says refer, 5th grade says quote, and 6th grade says cite. What's interesting, and I know it's going to happen because it happens with all the groups that I work with, is that we start with even just what do those terms definitions mean? Because what I find is there sometimes isn't even agreement on that, even though in the sense of the Common Core, these teachers have been using them for quite a few years. We're going to dig deeper and deeper and deeper and look analytically at these standards and ask ourselves really important questions. What do these standards mean when we think about what do our students look like when they're independently exhibiting these standards? And what do they look like when we need to think about instructionally supporting our students to make them independent? And what kind of assessments are authentic and truly going to measure a student's ability to do so? What's very important is that as you're working with teachers and you're meeting in a very much of a fluency mindset, we want to make sure that we document what we agree on so that as we make those decisions for our students, we are making them based on evidence that we have created. In other words, what is it that we want our students to know and be able to do and look like and feel like and act like when we look at these standards in a fluent way? So as your school year continues, as your summertime possibly for professional development continues, I recommend and urge you to meet from a standards fluency point of view because it truly does make a difference in your students' abilities to grow and learn and experience the world around them.